Georgia's defense last year was historic. It was one of the best college football defenses of all time. At the end of the day, they only allowed around 10 points per game for a while. It was hovering around 7. The SEC championship negated that, but we move on. And they're a national championship defense, and they had 5 of those defenders go in the first round of the NFL draft. That's never happened before. And they had a few guys go in the later rounds, including Nakobe Dean, Channing Tindall, Darion Kendrick. Darion Kendrick is a name I'm going to be talking about in this video because I'm focusing on Georgia's secondary. They lost a couple key players to the secondary. They gained a lot. I've got the recruiting class pulled up right here. I've got some numbers pulled up. So let's kind of discuss where Georgia's secondary is at for 2022. Who's going to fill in for some of those roles. Ryan Clay from Dog Post here, bringing you all the details on the Georgia Bulldogs secondary. Make sure you're going and checking out DAWGSTRUCTION with the link down below. All right. A lot of you guys are wanting these books, and so we've got to order more now. So you got to make sure you're getting it so you don't have to wait. All sorts of insider stories. Jeff Foxworthy wrote the foreword for the book. And make sure you're checking out the preview magazine. You get it free. If you buy DAWGSTRUCTION, you can also get it separately. Links down below. Let's just go from here. Lewis Cine and Darion Kendrick. Those were your two kind of stud defensive backs that left and went to the draft. Jalen Kimber in the transfer portal. Okay, those are your 3 guys that you're missing. Cine, obviously, a big 3-year player for Georgia. Someone I think that had a really close relationship with Kirby Smart. Someone that was a leader on this team. One of the smarter young men that I've been around, very thoughtful in what he had to say. And I think he was very important to this team. Very hard-hitting safety, good tackler, good instincts. And then Darion Kendrick was a pretty lockdown corner for a lot of the year. He had his bad moments, but there was a lot of good Darion Kendrick. There was a 2 interception in the Orange Bowl, Darion Kendrick. So he was an important player for the Georgia Bulldogs. So those are the 2 guys you got to replace. Let's see the other starters and heavy rotation players that are leaving, and then we'll talk about guys that are jumping in. Okay? So Lewis Cine was your leading tackler. So you're losing 73 tackles. You're losing an interception. So that's a big deal. You lose Darion Kendrick, obviously, the 4 interceptions. So and you lose Latavius Brini, actually. I forgot about that until just now. Latavius Brini, a guy that was heavy in the rotation, a guy that played some star, that played some safety, goes to Arkansas. So you got to worry about that. Who stayed? Christopher Smith decided to stay. Dan Jackson stuck around. That is likely your safety duo. I think Dan Jackson's going to be a starter. Keely Ringo, the hero of the national championship game, one of the highest cornerback prospects ever. He was a 5-star a couple years ago. He decided to stay. He's going to stick around. William Poole is a super senior, a guy that had a lot of reps in the second half of the season, and particularly the postseason, is a guy that's going to stick around for Georgia. Kamari Lassiter, a guy who's going to get a lot of reps at cornerback. He's going to get a lot of reps alongside William Poole and alongside Keely Ringo. Decided to stay. Javon Bullard decided to stay. Now, what are they getting from the freshmen? Their top secondary guy in this class is Malachi Starks. Obviously, Jefferson is like a 35, 40-minute drive from Athens. I've seen a lot of Malachi Starks. I try to watch as many of these guys as humanly possible. Obviously, some Friday nights I'm in Knoxville or Lexington or Jacksonville for these games. But when I'm in Athens, I try to go to some of these games. I went to a few Malachi Starks games, saw a lot of Malachi Starks. Gifted athlete, very gifted athlete. He could play the star position. He could play the safety position. He could even play an outside linebacker position almost. He could play wide receiver. He's that kind of athlete. I don't think he's going to get a ton of playing time from the jump. But, with the secondary in front of him being like a Bullard and a William Poole and a Dan Jackson, maybe Malachi Starks has this crazy offseason and he's getting time as a freshman. Lewis Cine, got a little bit of time as a freshman. So I think there's a good chance Malachi Starks is in this rotation. Jahim Singletary, a corner, 5-star guy from Florida, from the Jacksonville area. Obviously, he got him out from under Florida. Dalen Everett, IMG guy, another one of those huge pickups. And those are 6'2", 6'1". Those are big cornerbacks I just listed. Julian Humphrey, and the last guy I wanted to bring up was Jakory Thomas. So they had a really good secondary class. Those are all 4- and 5-star guys. And those are a lot of Florida guys and a lot of Georgia guys. So really good secondary class that they brought in for the 2022 overall. I really like this whole recruiting class. You got guys like Oscar Delp and Michael Williams and Marvin Jones Jr. It's a ton, but the secondary in particular was really good. So I think the biggest cause for concern, I think Lewisine was a better player, but I'm a little more worried about Darion Kendrick's absence, because William Poole and Kamari Lassiter are not as experienced as Dan Jackson. Dan Jackson's essentially going to replace Lewisine. I think that's kind of what we're moving towards. Javon Bullard's going to get some time. But, and Taiki Smith. This is what I'm talking about. I made a video months ago about Taiki Smith, about how everyone was forgetting about him, and I just completely forgot about him. Taiki Smith is in the mix for playing time at the star position, at the safety position. Wow. I can't believe I did that. That's, I'm going to be authentic, and I'm not going to cut that out of the video. I forget things. I'm human too. I make mistakes. I can't believe I forgot about Taiki Smith. So Georgia, you add Taiki into that mix. I don't think they're in a bad spot, because really Kimber wasn't out there, so all you're really losing is Lewisine and Darion Kendrick. Do Lewisine and Darion Kendrick, was their value more than Malachi Stark, Jakory Thomas, all those freshmen? Was there value more than Taiki Smith coming back? Maybe. Maybe with experience. Darion Kendrick obviously guarded a lot of really good college football wide receivers. Lewisine saw a lot of time against SEC opponents, and both of them went to the NFL draft. They obviously were both NFL talents out there on a college field, but I think the secondary, that was the biggest concern for me a year ago. So SEC Media Days is in a few days. I'm excited. The content's going to be great. I'm excited to hear from Kirby Smart. I'm excited to hear from Nick Saban. So a year ago at SEC Media Days, it was in Hoover. My biggest concern was the secondary, and it was some other people's biggest concerns too. Ended up being just fine. All right, so maybe we look at it a little bit that way. My biggest concern this year is the linebacker core. So it's different this year. I'm more concerned about the linebacker core. I can make a video about that. I'll probably do that for you guys this weekend. But the secondary, I think, is going to be okay. Maybe they drop off a little bit next season, but the entire defense, I think, is going to take a slight step back. That's my idea. That's my take. Make sure you're going to DAWGSTRUCTION and make sure you're checking out this fine piece of literature. See ya.